Adding an item to your Ricochet web store is a simple process and just requires a few additional fields. Before we continue, if you have not already watched tutorials on how to add consigned or store-owned inventory, then we would suggest reviewing those videos first. Adding items online will require a few fields. You will need to attach an item to a category, add a weight, add at least one photo, and of course click Show Online, then save or update. Let's start out by reviewing the layout of an item page. Each item will have a primary photo and show all supporting photos below. You will also see the title of the item, the short description, SKU, price, quantity, or variance when needed, as well as the online description. The item page layout settings will be dictated by the default set in the Styles tab in the Design section. Your secondary heading defaults will apply to the item name and quantity. Paragraph defaults will apply to fields like short and online description, and the Add to Cart and Quantity buttons will change depending on the button layout you choose. Taking some time to adjust your design parameters to better style your item page is a great practice. Altering things like font size or secondary header color can make your item pages much more inviting. Start out by adding basic info to the item: title, short description, quantity, and price. And of course, you can also add variants to this item if needed, but we'll review specifics about this later in the tutorial. Once you've added in the basic information, attach the item to a category. If you add a brand to the item or use any custom drop-down fields, these will be displayed on the category page as filterable options. Customers will be able to filter by price, variance, brand, or custom fields. These options will dynamically display, meaning customers will only be able to choose brands or variants that are attached to items that are currently being displayed. Best practices here are to attach online items to sought-after brands rather than creating brands for every item. Try to keep variants or custom field options with as few options as possible to not overcrowd the filtering column and ensure usability for customers when shopping both online or on mobile devices. Next, you can upload photos. We suggest capping each item at 6 photos, knowing that one good photo will work in most situations. You can upload one photo or bulk upload several photos at a time. The photo furthest to the left will be your primary photo, so click and drag the photos to reorder if needed. We won't go through taking photos in too much detail in this tutorial, but you do want to remember to keep a square layout when taking product photos. Once you click Show Online, you'll have a few additional options. You can start by adding an online description. Although this is not a necessary field to add items to your online store, it is a necessary field if you're adding items to your Facebook or Instagram shop. Next, you'll have a few toggle buttons. The first is Featured, and this will make the item viewable in the featured carousel. The next is Shippable. If the item is too heavy to be shipped, you can untoggle the Shippable toggle button. Then the item will just be available for in-store pickup. There's also a toggle button for Deliverable. In case you are offering local delivery, you can choose to allow items to be delivered or not. Note that regardless if an item is shippable or deliverable, you will need to add a weight to the item to post it to the online store. Now you can scroll up to Pricing and Inventory and add a weight to the item, and click Save to save the item and post it online. Also keep in mind that if you set the in-stock date to a day in the future, the item won't be viewable on the site until that day. There are a few things to keep in mind when adding items to the online store that have variants. When variants are attached to the item, you'll see a drop-down field and a reset button. The highlight field of the drop-down will be your site's primary color, and the reset button will use your button's default settings. The weight field will need to be added per variant. So click the black arrow to expand each variant options and add in the weight. You will also have the ability of changing the primary photo depending on which variant the customer chooses. Go ahead and hit save, noting that if you do see an error message, it may be that there's a weight field missing from one of the variants.